Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Fox with FoxeoPlays, and this is our Thief playthrough of Dark Souls on the PC with the DS Fix mod enabled. It's actually running at 72 frames per second, being recorded at 60 for YouTube. And the reason I'm running it at 72 frames per second is because I have a 144Hz monitor, so that gives me half of my monitor's refresh rate, which will end up looking better than if we simply run it at 60. Granted, the game is very poorly optimized on PC, so it has trouble maintaining even 30 frames per second on many machines, much less 60, and far less 72, but we'll give it a shot. This is, as far as I know, going to be one of the only high frame rate playthroughs from anyone that's fairly well known in the Dark Souls community. I couldn't find any high frame rate playthroughs, and other people told me the same thing. So if you can, obviously you're welcome to mention it down below. But in terms of people that are well known within the Dark Souls community or the Souls community, no one else seems to have recorded a high frame rate playthrough, at least not since YouTube has enacted the 60 FPS video system. We're going to be playing as a female thief character. Now, the catch with this playthrough, it's going to be something different than I've ever done before, something I've never done before, nothing groundbreaking, but something that I have never actually done, and that is we're going to play with all starting equipment. The starting equipment for our character will be our in-game equipment. So the starting weapon, shield, and armor, all that stuff will also be our in-game weapon, shield, and armor. And of course, like we said, we're going to go with the thief character. Let's go ahead and call this character Junko. Female. Class, as I mentioned, is thief. Since the thief has the master key, I'm actually at a loss as to what to choose. I always choose the master key, and I usually go with the warrior or sorcerer or some other class like that. So really not entirely sure what to go with. I could use black firebombs to kill the asylum demon right away. But, you know, that's a very temporary benefit. Binoculars are easy to find right off the bat. Pendant is effectively useless. Old Witch's Ring gives us one little lore tidbit. You can talk to one character that you normally can't. This gives us a tiny extra bit of health. So I'm torn between the Tiny Beans Ring and the Twin Humanities, and ultimately I think I'll go with the Twin Humanities. The little bit of health from the Tiny Beans Ring is not very useful and will quickly replace that ring. I usually go with a slim character, and then I choose the Far East Traveler, and for hair I go with not very short, sorry. I go with straight A or straight B. We'll go with straight A. And for color, black, and that is it, guys. As always, I skip the dialogues in the game, at least most of them. I skip cutscenes and all that stuff because it's much easier, and it makes the game it makes the playthrough a lot quicker. Granted, there are several mods installed, including this UI mod, which I'm actually not a big fan of. It's a little grating on the eyes, and many of you will notice that, but we'll just put up with it for now. I don't really want to mess with it and remove a whole bunch of mods that I've already got installed. So we'll pick up the dungeon key and get moving. Now, like I said before, we're basically only going to use starting equipment. We're going to play as the thief, so that means that we're going to use the bandit knife and target shield for the entirety of the playthrough, as well as the thief's armor set, which is this armor set right here. And I can tell you something, I'm not disappointed by it at all. It's a really nice looking armor set in my opinion. I actually like the way it looks. I like the color, I like the arrangement. The little like torn cape on the top, I could do without that, but that's not a big deal for me. There are, of course, many texture mods to change the way armor sets look in the game, from changing the colors to the basic textures and how they look. Generally, I don't mess with those. I just leave things as they are in terms of the individual armor sets and weapons. However, I do have an HD texture pack installed, as well as a HD font, high-res font, high-res messages and summon signs, and a few other things like that. The game will generally maintain somewhere between 45 to 60 frames per second, although right now you see it's well into the upper 60s to 72. 72 is the maximum it'll run at. So we'll see how this looks when it goes up on YouTube and YouTube compresses it. YouTube compression can be kind or it can be cruel. It just depends on how YouTube is feeling. And oftentimes, I don't know if it's the load on the servers, but sometimes YouTube's compression seems to fail and kind of screw up your video a little bit. It actually makes your video look worse than it normally does. So in those cases, some people have tried re-uploading. I usually just deal with whatever happens. I have the brightness turned up quite high just because usually recording software causes the game to darken more than it usually would. Alright, there we go. You notice the hair texture shows through the fog wall. Those have to do with all the mods installed. Now, many people ask, well, if the mods cause a few little glitches and issues, like the DS fix being at a high frame rate causes me to have to turn it off in 2 specific locations to make some jumps, people are oftentimes saying, well, why do you need to do that? Why do you do that at all? And essentially, it's because it's worth it. It makes the game play a lot better, look a lot better. It's just it's a lot more enjoyable at high resolutions and high frame rates, and it gives you better control over your character playing at frame rates above 30. Now, the target shield has a slightly larger window of opportunity for parries, and that'll be extremely helpful for those that struggle with parries. And it's been a while since I've played Dark Souls, and particularly a long time since I've done anything significant with it, so maybe I will struggle with parries. Who knows? We'll see. Get over here, buddy. Get out here. I think I also have a mod installed that makes enemy health bars look a little more obvious, so that they're not so dark and that they don't blend in as much. I like bright reds and greens, even though it doesn't necessarily fit the basic aesthetic of the game. It's more of a dark, gritty game. Now, I have been spending a lot of time playing Bloodborne, so we'll see how that has affected my ability to play Dark Souls, which is a game moving at a much slower pace. So far, I seem to be doing just fine. As for my background with the game, well, I've been playing it since its release. I did play it a little bit when it first released. I put it down for a while because I got frustrated with it and thought the game was terrible because I was dying and I just thought it was bad controls and all that. But ultimately, I learned to... Oh, shoot. Yeah, I missed that jump there. That's the frame rate mod right there. Not a big deal, but it happens. Now we're going to get a bleed effect from this bandit knife where we can stack up bleed on this boss and then it'll do a massive amount of damage. Right there, see? So, that's a nice feature. Oh, got caught by that. I don't normally get caught by that, but it happens. I gotta take a look at the bandit knife and see what the scaling is on this to see if it makes a difference if I two-handed or not. You can see that the proc of the bleed effect really helps to drain the boss's health there. Big Pilgrim's Key and you defeated. That allows us to continue onward. If you get the black firebombs, you can kill that demon really easily by just tossing them at him the first time you bump into him. You don't even have to run through that door, except, well, actually you end up having to run through the door. He will not drop the big Pilgrim's Key for you. You have to continue through the rest of the Undead Asylum. It's a story-based element there, so you can't skip through it unless you use some sort of cheat or hack. Now, a lot of people have commented that I do some of my playthroughs as if I'm talking to a new player, or sometimes I'll do the playthrough as if the person watching it doesn't know everything that's going on. And there are a lot of different people that will watch a playthrough, especially on my channel. There are those who will be absolutely brand new novices. Maybe they're watching for the first time. Maybe the last thing they did was watch my beginner's playthrough, and now they want to watch another one. There are experts who have been playing for years who will watch my playthrough. There are people that are somewhere in between. There are people who watch that want long playthroughs of an hour or more. There are people who want shorter playthroughs of 30 minutes. And so I'm trying to make mine about 45 minutes each. We'll see how that goes. I'm not going to be really strict about the timing. Maybe some episodes will be 35 minutes. Some episodes maybe 55 minutes. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to run through here and grab some stuff. This is a bit risky given that I have 2,300 souls on me. And it's also kind of silly given that I'm actually not going to use any of this stuff other than the souls I pick up. So it actually might have been better not to take this normal route through the cemetery that I usually take. But I'm so used to it, I'm just doing it anyway. The danger here is getting hit from behind as they do their little spin roll attack towards you. So as I mentioned, I'll be talking about some things that might seem really obvious to you if you're an experienced Souls player, a Dark Souls player, if you're a veteran. But at the same time, we may have some newer people watching the stream or some people that don't know everything about the game. If you are quite the expert, then let me see, we're probably going to stack up dexterity, endurance, and vitality, and I think those will be the only 3 we really focus on. We know we have all the minimum stats required for all of our gear because, well, I mean, we've equipped it and we're using it. We're also fast rolling, so we don't need to worry about that, so we don't need to take anything off initially. That's always a good thing. And we'll probably stack endurance to start off. I'm going to pick up a few more items through here. One thing we're going to do before we get any humanity or any more souls is we're going to make a quick suicide run to pick up the Firekeeper soul down here in New Londo. And the reason we do that is because it gives us +1 on our Estus Flask, which means every single Estus Flask we consume gives us more health. See, that's where I do that sort of conversation. I'm commentating like I'm talking to a novice player. But at the same time, explaining what I'm doing is helpful for people, particularly if they don't know what's going on. This is also what's known as live comm or live commentary. I'm commentating live as I play. You may actually hear the clicking sounds of the analog stick in the background. That is my gamepad playing with an Xbox 360 gamepad. I would gladly and preferably play with a Xbox One controller, which I do have. However, at the moment it does require being connected with a micro USB cable, and that's just a bit of a frustration. I don't really want to have any more cables. I prefer the wireless. So we'll go with the 360 gamepad. Now, as I speak, let's see, it is July 2015. Microsoft has announced that this fall they're going to give us a wireless dongle for the Xbox One controller for PC. So I'll be picking that up as soon as I'm able, and then I'll be pretty much switching entirely over to the Xbox One controller. Hopefully it also works with the 360 at the same time. That way, you know, my wife and I, if we want to play a two-player game, you know, one of us can use the 360 controller and one could use an Xbox One controller and only have to have one of the dongles connected. But like I said, you can have it connected with a cable. I just don't like using cables. And the micro USB cable that the Xbox One controller uses to charge, that's actually not a good choice for a cable because the micro USB connection is fairly faulty. It breaks down rather quickly. It can break down in less than a year of use, as many of you have found out from your cell phones, which use micro USB connectors for most Android phones. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this thing. We'll try to stick to game-related topics rather than talking about Android power connections. This is not a lore playthrough. This is also not a 100% completionist playthrough. So what we're actually doing here is just sort of playing through to have some fun. We're enjoying the game as is. We're not putting any restrictions on us other than the fact that we're using only starting gear. We're not going to change our armor, weapon, or shield. And we're not going to take anything off or add anything to it other than, you know, using items and whatnot. So I'm not restricting myself in terms of I only use the bandit knife for attacking. I can use the fire bombs or knives or anything else. But mostly we'll just be using the bandit knife when it comes to dealing damage. I usually run through here and pick everything up, even though in many cases a lot of it is stuff I'll never use. We are playing online, so we'll see how that goes. If we end up having lots of invaders, we may just go offline to avoid that problem. The other benefit of going offline on Steam is that I won't get messages right in the middle of the playthrough, so those are permanently ingrained into the playthrough for all of eternity. You'll see in some of my other playthroughs I've gotten, you know, Games for Windows Live messages. In this case now the game has fully transitioned to Steamworks. So, Games for Windows Live is no longer part of Dark Souls on PC, or any... Oh shoot, I meant to go up there. Let me try this again. It's no longer part of Dark Souls, so you don't have to have the Games for Windows Live executable of the client running. And at this point, I don't play any games that use it. Fallout 3 uses it, but I actually have a little mod, not a mod necessarily, but a utility that uninstalls it, so that it's not even part of Fallout 3 anymore. Games for Windows Live was one of the banes of Dark Souls on PC. It was very unfortunate. There was even a petition early on, as soon as PC gamers found out it was going to be a Games for Windows Live game. There was a petition asking them not to do it, and for good reason, because it was really bad. It made connections difficult. It just, you know, it caused a lot of problems. The game would frequently not run, and there would be issues of you'd have to uninstall and reinstall the client, and it became a giant hassle and just something that didn't need to happen. This should pop off. Yep, there we go. And actually, I meant to pop these souls first. Subsequent Souls games, Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne included, have allowed you to pop multiples at one time. You can put them on your hotbar down there and then just pop them off that way, but... Oh, shoot! Didn't mean to do that. But, whatever, I've only got a handful, so I'm not too worried about that. We'll pop these off and then see what we can do in terms of leveling up. I think that's the only level we'll be able to gain off this. Yes, indeed it is. So we're not going to pop any more until we need them later. We'll do 1 point into dexterity just because I like seeing even numbers. See that vitality being 9? That's going to get to me. I'm like, it's not even. It's not divisible by 2. So let's take a look at the Bandit's Knife. 56 base damage as of right now. 56, it's giving us plus 12 on the slash there. Critical 147. Has an E scaling in strength and a B scaling in dexterity. So most of your scaling is coming from the dexterity stat. Our drink of choice for this episode of our Thief playthrough is peppermint tea, plain with nothing in it. Really good. Very delicate flavor, not too strong. So we will have some incentive to possibly bump some points into strength. I'll probably push it to 10, and then at that point I won't put any more points unless I start hitting the soft cap for vitality and dexterity and endurance. So this is really going to be a 3-stat playthrough: vitality, endurance, and dexterity. Before vitality, we'll be putting points into endurance, and then dexterity after that. So we can look at the description, even though I'm not really a lore player. It does slash damage, and it has a really good critical bonus. It's a wide single-edged short sword. Isn't that interesting? It says it's a short sword. Is the favorite of lowly thieves and bandits. Primarily a slicing weapon, but highly effective when used for critical hits, such as after parrying or from behind. So, good for parries and backstabs. Alright, so let's move onward. I am not going to be going into human form unless necessary, because I prefer to avoid invasions. Generally, your invasions early on are going to be players who are spec'd out and fully leveled as far as they can be given the area they're invading for. They're going to have fully upgraded gear, oftentimes very powerful gear. Some of them will come in with, the Gravelord sword +5. So oftentimes, invasions this early on are almost certain death for newer players because you just don't have your gear upgraded like they do. Whoops, that was bad. What is going to throw me off a little bit is the movement of the target shield. Because it lasts a little longer during the parry animations, that might cause me to mistakenly think that I should be hitting the button at a different time than I should. So I'd probably do better at parrying if I just used a regular medium shield. Darn it, see? Just use a regular medium shield. I'm also a little rusty because I'm used to the firearm interrupts of Bloodborne. Oh, shoot. Oh, he got me. He got me. I've also forgotten that, unlike Bloodborne and Dark Souls 2, this game is super easy for doing those little pivot backstabs. Just quickly swing around the back of enemies and then boom, you got them. Backstabs have never been easier than Dark Souls. You just you find yourself sort of clicking into place as long as you're anywhere near their back, or as long as you've broken the shoulder. That guy can sometimes drop a humanity, but generally doesn't. Now, for those of you, if you haven't yet subscribed to Foxeo Plays, please do. Obviously, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But then again, if you're watching this, then you probably at least enjoy my Dark Souls playthroughs, of which I can pretty much guarantee you there'll be more in the future. I doubt I'm going to call it quits at this point. I don't plan on quitting doing these playthroughs anytime soon. I'll probably still be doing Dark Souls playthroughs well into the future. I'll probably do a back to Dark Souls playthrough after I get relatively finished playing Dark Souls 3, which is coming out relatively soon in the near future, 2016. Of course, anything I say which involves time periods and what's been released and what's available, always check the upload date of these videos. A lot of people will watch this video from the future. They'll watch this video, the video will be 2-3 years old, and they'll be like, what are you talking about, dude? Such and such. And I'm like, well, check the video description for the date. I can't know stuff from the future. So, those of you who are coming to this well into the future, just be aware of when this video was actually uploaded and what was known at that time and what was available at that time. We're not going to be picking up all the secrets and hidden items, and we'll probably never even bother with the Great Hollow and Ash Lake, which is two of the big hidden areas in the game. Whether we'll go to the Painted World or not, I'm not sure. It's a good question. I don't know. I love how when he fell, he ended up causing me damage. So actually, oh shoot, I'm really getting my butt kicked here. I'm used to Bloodborne being a little faster paced. there is actually some benefit, gosh darn it, to two-handing this because it does have strength scaling. So we'll see what that does for us. This garbage can be traded later for something potentially of value depending on what weapons you're using. I think it gives you a Titanite chunk, if I remember correctly. The upgrade path for the bandit knife... Ooh, shoot, you know what? I don't entirely remember. I don't think it uses Twinkly Tie. I think it just uses the regular upgrade path. Titanite, then large Titanite chunks? Wow, I can't remember. I'm thinking of the blood chunks and all that stuff from Bloodborne. This is also not, it's nothing like a no-death playthrough or challenge playthrough. Oh, that's one thing I always like to specify to people. It's not a challenge playthrough. Sometimes I'll tell people what I'm doing in a playthrough, and then someone will say, oh, that's not difficult. I'm like, it's not meant to be difficult, it's just meant to be a playthrough. Oh, shoot. Wow. I experienced a little input lag right there, or input queuing, where an attack queued up. That can happen from time to time. It's far more common in Bloodborne, actually, than in Dark Souls. It happens in this game oftentimes if you're holding up your shield and keep spamming attack buttons, and then once you release your shield, then an attack will occur. People oftentimes say, well, don't spam buttons or attacks, but actually spamming the attacks and spamming rolls and whatnot is the only way to effectively do it in the best timing. If you hit roll thinking if you're ready to roll as you come out of an attack and you're off by even a little bit, then by the time you realize you're off, and by the time you hit the roll again, you've actually lost the opportunity to roll as quickly as possible. So actually spamming the button is the best for making it happen as quickly as possible. Trying to find that very, very precise timing. So in that regard, it's best that they build the game around that. That they not punish the player for, you know, simply trying to, for example, spam a roll as soon as you've attacked to try to get out of there as quickly as possible. Let's go ahead and level up. We'll pop a point into Vitality just to make that an even number. We need 829 souls. We can definitely get that from our souls on stock, but we'll hang on to those because I want to upgrade my bandit knife. I want to make sure I can upgrade my bandit knife. So we'll use those souls to buy Titanite shards if the need arises, which it probably will. You generally won't get 9 Titanite shards just from roaming around. It's possible, I think, but highly, highly unlikely. Another thing I like to pick up is the weapon smith box in the weapon repair box. I like to pick those up rather early on in the game, so I have those available. Oh shoot. Wow, I really gotta relearn timings and everything on this. Even though it's not 100% block shield, it gets fairly close to blocking 100%. Close enough. I think what is it, like a 70-80% block, something of that sort? Let's check it out. It is, let's see, 78% block. So that's good enough in many cases, especially for these enemies that don't hit so hard. They're weaker hits. Like if you watch how much damage I get from this, you can barely even see that health bar move, so no biggie. Now these right here can be useful for fighting the Taurus Demon, particularly for newer players, the Black Firebomb. If you're having trouble with the Taurus Demon, Black Firebombs will make the fight a lot easier. Just back up, wait for him to attack, make sure you're a good distance away so you're not going to get hit, and then hit him with a Black Firebomb. A good tactic here is to run in, get the attention of the two that are not going to throw firebombs at you, and you can funnel them through this stairwell here. Wait for them to finish attacks, and then get them. But watch out for Mr. Firebomb Thrower. I'm trying to vary my attacks up more than I normally would, which is probably a bad idea. I should just play the way I normally do since I'm a little rusty as is, but I'm trying to use more of the R2s. Typically in these games, if there's any benefit to doing so, I'll two-hand my weapon and then focus nearly entirely on simply R1s. R1s, parries, ripostes, and backstabs. Not even so much jump attacks or backstep attacks or anything of that sort. Alright, let's go up and get this guy so he doesn't shoot us in the back. Little sniper. The one catch with this weapon, obviously, is that you rely on hitting the enemy many times in a row, which is fine for these lesser enemies where, you know, you can keep staggering them, but for bosses, many bosses that can't be staggered, oh shoot, oftentimes it's actually more difficult to try to get in more hits rather than just get in a couple large, hard-hitting hits. Yeah, see? I'm going to be thrown off by the parry timings on this target shield for just a little bit. Hopefully I adjust to it rather quickly. And then, of course, I've got the Bloodborne timings in my mind as well. I'm having so much more trouble than I normally would, which is kind of funny. And it's almost kind of cool that way. Oh, shoot! Wow. Wow. I died before reaching the Taurus Demon. It's been a while since that's happened. It has been a while. No biggie, though. We can get back to where we were relatively quickly. And as you die, one benefit is you don't have to worry about hitting up stuff you've already picked up, so you can skip some areas and whatnot relatively easily. I'm actually going to try running through a portion of this, and we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. I don't want to waste too much time here. One thing about dying, though, is it can really lengthen the playthrough a lot more than I would prefer it does. We're actually just going to take this, yeah, that fire right there, and not worry about it, because backing up and letting those enemies catch up to me is not preferable. We can heal that damage, no problem. Although I probably should have... kindled that bonfire so I could have 10 Estus flasks. Whoa, that's something that's going to catch you, that jump attack right there. That's a crazy attack. Wow, I'm really, really off my game. You can really tell how rusty I am. I want to get this crystal lizard here, so that's the reason I'm standing... Wow. Wow. That's the reason I'm standing my ground and fighting these guys versus... Oh, shoot. I'd mistimed that really bad. You know, we'll try going into the Taurus Demon with one Estus Flask, assuming I don't get hit again. And there we go. Alright, that should allow us to kill the Taurus Demon. Ooh, we got a humanity off that guy. Alright, it should allow us to kill the Titanite lizard doohickey. Crystal lizard. Boom, okay. We got Twinkling, which is fine. I don't think we need that, though. I'm pretty sure the Bandit Knife is just a regular upgrade path. Alright, so normally you would want to go in here with 10 Estus Flasks, particularly for newer players. But you know what? We're just going to do this. And... to help us out a little bit, we'll go ahead and maybe use one of the gold pine resin. We'll see how I feel. Yeah, we'll probably use that and then stomp, do the plunge attack on the Taurus Demon. That should actually be nice and beneficial. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to take care of those dudes first. Wow, I am so off my game. So off my game. What we might do is attack these guys right now and then try to avoid the Taurus Demon killing us in the meantime. Hopefully we can get him before he jumps up here. Oh, I botched that up. Uh-oh, we're in a bad spot. There we go. Okay, there we go. We're good. We're good. I'm not going to worry about anything else here. Oh, I knew he was going to get me with that one. As long as he doesn't do a quick jump attack that I'm not prepared... Yeah, we're fine. Just trigger the attack, run in, and then get him. Roll that. I'm by the opening here, which is always dangerous, but we got him. So the effect of having a relatively fast-swinging weapon with lightning on it, and then I think the bleed effect procced at least once there. I couldn't tell. You guys will know better having watched it. I actually had to play and pay attention. That wasn't bad. We did end up using one Estus Flask just because I got hit back there. But no biggie. We're still alive. I guess that's what really counts, right, guys? I always trigger the Drake to come in and breathe fire. It's not actually dragon, and then I run down here, and while he breathes the fire, I then take care of picking up the white summoning stone, the white soapstone. I may misspeak about certain things in the game because I'm used to terminology from either Dark Souls 2 or Bloodborne, particularly Bloodborne, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I don't start referring to parries as interrupts and riposte as viscerals. That's the terminology from Bloodborne, for those that don't know. A couple of these enemies, when they die, drop some items. Even though it could be a Titanite shard, it is not worth the risk. Don't try it. That Drake will burn you alive, and it will not be enjoyable. So we'll go ahead and hit this up, and then we'll head down here to get our leveling. Actually, you know what? Let's hang on to those souls and use those for the same thing I just mentioned, for making sure that we can upgrade our bandit knife. Want to get our bandit knife upgraded as soon as possible. First thing you want to do, whether it's Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, or Bloodborne, first thing you always want to do is upgrade that weapon. Get that weapon upgraded. This is how I get past the Drake. There's another route you can take down below to go around, but I prefer to take this route. Also, there's a couple poison rats down there that can give you some trouble if you get poisoned, because you don't have any way to heal yourself or to cure yourself of the poison at the moment. So that can get you tripped up, especially if you end up getting low on health at the same time. I really shouldn't have bothered picking that up. Your main priority is running to the bonfire and hitting that as quickly as possible. He can, she or he can actually breathe fire into here and kill you, so just be aware of that. He has been known at times to breathe fire into the bonfire room. And yes, it will kill you. As mentioned, the criticals on this thing are amazing, so if you can get that backstab or parry, then you'll kill a lot of these early enemies in a single shot. Or you can just count on spamming attacks and waiting for the bleed effect to proc. You notice it takes a lot of hits to kill stuff. That's one of the downsides of the bandit knife, is that the regular little R1 slash attacks are not too terribly powerful. I think what I'm going to do up here is something I don't do very often. It's risky, especially with 5,854 souls, but I'm going to attempt a run through to get... Oh, this is so stupidly dangerous when I don't have a medium shield. Okay, I think I've maybe made it as long as I don't get hit in the back by that boar. Don't stop for anything, just keep going. And if you get right through here, you're pretty much safe at this point. Okay, no problem, so we made it. Boar can't get up here. At that point, you actually don't really need to worry about the boar. You can pretty much ignore him if you want to. Gonna go with backstabs on this Balder Knight for now, just because it's a whole lot safer than risking a parry and missing. Because if he does one of his combo attacks and it staggers me and then he gets me with a second hit, I'll be nearly dead after 2 hits. Nice thing about this game is, and this is true of Bloodborne, Dark Souls, and Demon Souls, is that you're effectively invincible during a riposte animation and during backstab animations, so you don't have to worry about getting hit during these animations. So for example, right here, if he shoots me, it'll just go through me and not hurt me because I'm in the middle of that backstab animation. But be careful, there is a very, very, very brief moment of time in which you can come out of the animation, and before you're able to actually perform any action, you get hit by something. So it's like it gets you in that little tiny time window, or that window of time in between when you're able to input an action and when you come out of one of those other actions. Alright, right here, what I recommend, especially since I'm going to have to hit this guy a ton of times, is actually we can trigger this so that we're good to go from Firelink. So now that shortcut's open, we don't forget it. What oftentimes happens is you'll forget the shortcut. And later on, when you realize you've forgotten, you're like, oh, shoot. hopefully we're not dropping too many frames with DxTory. I normally use Shadowplay to record. Now I know some of you don't care about the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, but many of you always ask, like, what do you use to record, and how do you record your voice, and what microphone do you use? And so I'm using a Blue Yeti USB microphone. I'm recording my audio with the Blue Yeti USB microphone. I'm recording the actual gameplay with DxTory right now, although I normally use Shadowplay, but the problem with Shadowplay is it's not the greatest quality, and 60 FPS kind of highlights how bad the quality can get. It starts to get a little blurry and pixelated, more so than I would prefer. At 30 it wasn't so bad, but yeah, see, we have no Titanite shards at the moment. However, we can buy 7 right now. With a few pops of these souls that we saved up, we should hopefully be able to buy all 9 by buying 2 more. 7 plus 2 equals 9. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. That would be a terrible thing, because once those are dropped, you can never get them back. Again, I could put these on the hotbar, but I don't know. I don't know why I'm not. Oh, we're way past the point. Hopefully we have enough to upgrade as well. Let's see, reinforce the weapon. Actually, let's just do this while I'm in here at the moment. Okay. See how we need 2 more, so we'll buy those 2. And then reinforce to get to +5. So now our dagger, our bandit's knife, is actually maxed out. We could start on the target shield as well. However, that's not going to be nearly as important. We're not going to rely on the shield for a whole lot of blocking. Notice that it'll go, let's see what it does for stability. Oh, see, the stability on that first upgrade doesn't actually increase. It goes from 45 to 45. Stability is usually the reason you want to upgrade a shield. A lot of medium shields will increase in stability a lot, and the more stability, the more stamina damage you can take without your shield guard being broken. So at this point, let's go ahead and see if we can get some levels. That should definitely give us 1 level. We'll put that into dexterity so we can do 2 points of additional damage. And yeah, we'll be able to get another level out of that. Always remove superfluous items, that is to say items you don't plan on using from your quick slot bar, because you don't want to accidentally use one when you mean to heal yourself with the Nestus. That will get you killed. Like, sometimes people will just leave stuff on the bar, and let's say, for example, I leave those souls there, then I'm in the middle of a fight, I've accidentally pressed down without realizing it, and I'm like, oh, I need Nestus. I hit X to use my item, and instead of healing myself, I pop a soul, and the boss hits me, and I die. It's happened. So just a little bit of advice. Clear your hotbar of everything you don't actively plan on using. So let's, you know what? I think we'll go ahead and call it here, guys. I think we made it far enough for episode number 1 of our Thief playthrough using starting equipment with high resolution and high frame rate. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any suggestions or comments on it, go ahead and give me down below. I may have a couple episodes planned in advance before you see this one, but this is not a series where it's all done before I release the first one. There are some series like that, so I may be able to incorporate your suggestions, and certainly let me know if you want me to go to certain areas like the Painted World and all that jazz. And I will definitely read your comments, guys. I try to read as much as I can. Thank you for watching, and I hope you look forward to episode number 2 of our Thief playthrough, and I will see you guys next time.